Welcome to TestTube, your go-to hub for professional knowledge sharing. In this video, I will guide you through the basics of Postman, exploring its core features and pricing model. We will start with the installation process and then dive into the demonstration how to run your first API test. Along the way, I will highlight the most commonly used UI elements in Postman so that you are well equipped to navigate and utilize this powerful tool effectively. Postman is a powerful tool used for API testing. It is available as a desktop application for Windows, Mac, and Linux operating system. It is also available as a web version. Without wasting any time, let's visit Postman website. This is the Postman website. Click on Enterprise tab to explore the list of functionalities that Postman offers. Under the application lifecycle, you can see that Postman can be used for design, develop, test, document, mock, monitor, and distribute the APIs. We will be using the testing capabilities of Postman in this tutorial. I would recommend you to watch the short video on Postman, how it is being used in the organization. Click on the pricing tab to understand the different pricing model that Postman offers. For our testing, both from the manual and automation perspective, we will be using the free tiers, and most of the testing capabilities can be done using the free version of Postman. Click on the right icon to download the right version of Postman for Windows, Mac, and Linux. So at this point, I will not download any version because I already have a version installed on my Windows laptop. Let's go back to the home page. As I explained earlier, we can use the browser version of the Postman, or you can use the desktop version of the Postman. Irrespective of which version we are using, it is better to create an account with Postman for effectively using the Postman. Click on sign up for free button to create a free account. Specify your email ID. It need not be your work email. You can specify your personal email followed by the username and password. Then click on the create free account. Once you do this, you will receive an email on your provided email account. You just verify that email, your account is ready to be used by the Postman. I will not create an account here because I already have an account. Rather, I will try to sign in. Click on the sign in button. Provide your registered email ID and password. Click on sign in. Your browser version is ready to use. But for my tutorial, the entire Postman tutorial, I will be using the desktop version. So the desktop version and browser version looks very similar. So there are no difference between them. So what I will do now for a time being, I will sign out. Then I will come back to the home page. Click on the start button, search for the Postman application, open the application. It takes some time to open the application. Wait till the application is open. Then now the application is open. You basically click home button and then click on login button. Log in with your registered username and password. In my case, it is this email ID I have used for creating my account. Click on it. Click on the Open Postman button to open the Postman application. Now the application is ready to be used. Click on the Manage Account icon. You can see you are already logged in here. Without wasting any time, let us start creating a simple API test. For this example, I will be using a free API provided by RickRes. Let's go to this website and check the API specification. Let's scroll down to see what it offers. If you see here, it offers the bunch of APIs um, that to work with the user base. So it exposes a lot of APIs that works with the user base, such as listing the users, getting the details of single user. If you see here, creating a new user, updating the existing user, deleting the existing user. For this demonstration, we will use a simple get single user call where it is trying to get a details of a particular user. Let's click on this, and this is the path for the resource that we are requesting. And when we call this API, this is how the API is going to respond you back. If you remember, in my earlier tutorial I talked about endpoint, which is a combination of your base URL and the path that you are requesting for, the path of the resource that you are requesting for. So in this case, the base URL is rickres.in and the path is /API user /2. Okay, let us copy this and let's go back to Postman. Click on the plus icon to create a new request. Copy the base URL, go back to the website and copy the resource path. Yeah, now send this. If you see, you got 200 OK as a response. That means your transaction is successful, and along with that, the server also responded back with a particular data set. Let us compare let us do the side by side comparison with the SPA specification document. Whatever the response that we got is matches with whatever specified in the API documentation. If you closely look at this, both the responses are looks alike. That means your API transaction is successful. Now let us closely examine the request and the response. Okay. And if you remember the last video, I talked about the structure of the request. The request has an URL or an URI or an address. You can see this is an address. It contains a method, the kind of an HTTP method. It can be get, post, put, patch, or a delete. In this case, we are using get as a method. Along with that, it also has something called as a header, which is a metadata needed by the server to process this particular request. If you see here, there are 7 hidden items are there. Let us click on this. Yeah, if you see, there are a lot of key value pair that we are passing. If you remember, in our last tutorial, I also mentioned about one of the commonly used the header parameter, which is called as an content type. And if you see the content type, what we are passing here is of type JSON. That is, we are specifying the server that the data that is coming from your request is of type JSON. We can yeah. So along with that, there is also an the body, as I explained in the last tutorial. For most of the get call, we don't have the body specified. Especially the body is specified for the request like post or for the patch where we need to update a record, or the put where you need to update the entire record, or for the delete operations. Generally for the get operations, we don't use any kind of a body. So this is how the structure of your request looks like. And if you see, let us send this again. We have changed the content type, right? Content type as a JSON here. I maintain content type as JSON. So again, the call is successful. And if you closely examine the response structure, you have response status, which is a 3-digit code. Along with there is a description of the message. If it is an OK, that means that your transaction is successful. Along with that, you have a, if you see here, it is basically giving you the body. This is the response body, yeah, and it is in the form of a JSON. And there is also a header, which is a kind of a metadata that is sent by the server to basically understand the request body. If you see what are the content it has, you see this content. There are a lot of parameters that is being specified. One of them is also a content type, right? So if you see, it also says that the response that is coming from the application is of type JSON. Yeah. So this is how this is the first test that shows, basically demonstrates how the Git API works. And also I also explained the structure of the request and response here. Let's say that while calling an API, you encountered an error, and you want to understand more why this error has been occurred. Then in that case, you can go to the console option. Console option lists the details of your API transaction. It gives you a request header in a raw format. It gives a response header, and it gives you a response body. Let us try to create an error while calling this API. Let us inject an error while calling this API. Before that, let's clear this log, and instead of API here, we will call it as PI. And yeah, so this should lead as a 404 error, because we are trying to request a resource which is not found in the server. Let's try this. Exactly, we got 404. Yeah, so it basically says that the requested resource is not found in a server. And if you go to console and trying to expand the response body, you will get a, yeah, so you will get an detailed HTML page. It basically trying to say what exactly is wrong. Okay, you can it gives very basically a very detailed information. This is how we can basically trace a call, right? To basically see where exactly is the error. While working with the API, generally you will come across a terminology called as collection. Collection is nothing but a group of tests pertaining to a particular API. This is basically how your tests are organized, something like your folder structure, right? So let us try to save this particular request by clicking on a save button. It basically starts asking for the request name. By default, it gives the endpoint URL. You can change this, get single user. Let us name it as get single user. And for the collection, you can provide a collection name. Let us say that first API test. On the left hand side, you can see how your tests are basically organized, right? It's the collections are basically how the tests are being organized. It's basically a collection of testers pertaining to a particular API. And while working with the APIs, some of the UI elements are very important. One of them is the center screen, where you can populate the request parameters, and that is especially this area. And another area is the response area, where basically server sends a response back to you. This left hand side is for the collection, how to organize your test. And this is for the console for the debugging purpose. And along with that, you can also see there is something called as an environment variable. Yeah, basically, it is to manage the different kind of environment. If if your organization has a different testing environments like dev, QA, acceptance, and there are different uh, and you need to test an API in a different environment, then you can manage your test under using the environment variable. So you can in such cases your base URLs will be different, but the your resource path will be still the same. For example, in case if you have a dev environment for requests, it could be like requests underscore or an hyphen uh, test.in for the test environment. So basically here the base URL is different, but the resource path will be the same. In such cases, environment variable can be used to configure your base URLs, irrespective of your environment being used. That brings end of this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed learning the basics of Postman with me. In the next session, we will dive deeper into working with different HTTP methods, using collection variables, constructing URLs, and much more. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you found this video helpful. Thank you for watching.